Hello, dandelions! Today we're niching down into Russian folklore, to discuss something I wanted to talk about for a while: love, beauty, and depression. Let me tell you, Russian folklore does not promise happiness on those matters. Why was pity seen as love? Why was having a thin figure considered unattractive? What is toska? In this video, we will explore those themes and how they intertwine in Russian folklore. Surprisingly, love in ancient times was more linked to pity rather than chemistry. Word love meant the highest form of feelings, which is love for God rather than passion. There was a phrase in Russian, "feels pity, therefore loves," that reflects a different perspective on romantic relationships. Pity back then would mean showing compassion or mercy. In Old Russian, the verb жалити, жаловать, originally meaning to grieve, first developed the meaning to show compassion. Modern version would be verb жалеть, and then expanded to also mean to show mercy, favor. From this came to reward, a special case since the reward was a manifestation of the mercy of a tsar or nobleman. There is a phrase from the iconic Soviet movie «Жалую тебе шубу с царского плеча» that essentially means the Tsar Ivan the Terrible gives a fur coat to a character. «Жалую» is an old way of saying to give, and in modern language the equivalent is the verb дарить. A water spirit, rusalka, would usually trick men not by singing captivating songs, but by crying and showing that she is in distress. This way draws the target's attention better than classical seduction in Russian folklore. Once someone would take pity on her, she would drag him underwater. In a fairy tale, the frog princess, Vasilisa the Wise, the cursed frog princess marries the youngest son of a tsar. The tsar tasks all daughters-in-law to do multiple things to show their craftsmanship skills. Her husband, Ivan, is obviously in distress by the inevitable disgrace in front of everyone. Vasilisa takes pity on her fiancé, sends him to sleep, and does the job while her husband is resting with her magic. A similar scenario was in the tale The Sea Tsar and Vasilisa the Wise, where Vasilisa the Wise showed a lot of compassion and helped the prince with tasks from her father, the Sea Tsar. To take pity on someone was about showing warmth, care, and comfort towards a person. Noun жалкий, which means pitiful, would mean beloved, dear in the old context. Overall, pity simply had a different concept from the modern meaning of despising or belittling someone in a passive-aggressive, sorry way. And as much as I love my culture, pitying is a bad idea. It naturally occurs that empathy and compassion are default qualities of most Russian women, and many men tend to take advantage of this endless stream of emotional labor. It isn't going to do you any good in this world. Please put yourself first. Let's finish this section with something lovely. It is a love note from 12th century Novgorod and quite passionate one. May I present to you, dandelions, a birch bark manuscript number 752, fragment 1. To you 3 times, and this Sunday, a week? What ill will do you bear to me, that you haven't come to me? I have treated you like a brother. Have I already wearied you, sending you messages? But I know that to you it is displeasing. If it were pleasing to you, you would tear yourself away from the eyes of others and come running. Ta-ta-ta, fragment 2. Ta-ta-ta, now somewhere else. Reply to me about ta-ta-ta, I leave you. If I have wearied you with my foolishness, if you begin to mock me, God will judge you, and I will. There are many beautiful female characters in Russian folklore. What can I say? beauty is what Russian women are known for. When another guy tries to love bomb me with cheap words like "You are so beautiful," blah blah blah, I only have two words to say. I know. Being pretty was obviously tied to being a good person, and it is something found in any culture across the globe. Also, the female protagonist in the folklore comes with inner beauty and remarkable qualities such as kindness, modesty, patience, appreciation of nature, hardworking. But looks come first. Ancient standards of Russian beauty would include long braid and what is called in Russian folklore blood with milk, an expression meaning someone whose body radiates health and strength. Having wide hips and being curvy was a part of the ideal look for Russian woman. In this complement, blood refers to rosy cheeks and milk refers to white, fair skin, no tan. Being thin was seen as unhealthy. There is an idiom, кожа до кости, that translates to skin and bones in English, meaning an extremely thin person or animal whose ribs and skeleton are visible, indicating severe thinness due to illness or starvation, and used with a hint of disapproval or sympathy. Baba Yaga acts as the antagonist in tales and is described as ugly, but we remember that her job is to test the protagonist of either gender. She isn't there to please you. She guards the border between the human realm and the underworld, and I have an episode about her. Over time, in 19th century in particular, beauty standards started to shift. Romanticism and the image of Turgenev's young lady valued paleness and fragility. Being thin was no longer seen as unhealthy. Women, especially the aristocracy, were obsessed with the new look. Up to this day, being skinny is a cultural expectation in Russia if you want to be considered attractive. If you are a woman and you gain weight, people will shame you hard. I will be blunt with you, dandelions. Depression in Eastern Europe is a fascinating subject. It's kind of there, and it's kind of not there. What do you have to be sad about? You have somewhere to live, food to eat, and clothes to wear. It's because you have nothing else to do. Take a walk. If you are from the region, you heard it too. I'm an adult, and I can't imagine explaining to my Russian parents that I have depression because they won't believe it exists. I know it is a wild thing to say, since the classical Russian literature is famous for its depressive vibe, but hear me out. In traditional Russian culture, there was no language for mental health as we understand it today. Instead, there were words like toska, печаль, скорбь, горе to describe emotional suffering that was inevitable when you live by your feelings. Toska is not just sadness, but a hollow ache, emotional emptiness, yearning for something you cannot name. In the tale Sister Alyonushka, Brother Ivanushka, Alyonushka is so devastated by her brother's reckless behavior that turned him into a god that she sits and cries until the third party, aka the merchant, interferes. You will find it interesting, dandelions, that there is an old Russian wedding custom for a bride to cry before the ceremony. Symbolic cry, like the one you normally have during funerals, represented that a woman died to her former life, to be reborn to a new married life, and to grieve her free life as an unmarried woman. In Bylina, Russian oral epic poem, there is a story about a famous warrior, Ilya Muromets. In the poem, his journey is described as follows. Ilya Muromets fell into deep sorrow, and for 33 years he lay on the stove. However, the recent research about Saint Ilya of the Kiev caves suggests that he might have had a piercing injury to the spine, and pilgrims healed it. Mental health challenges were part of it. There is also a tale about the princess who never smiled in Russian folklore. She is described as someone who would never smile, laugh, or experience joy in her heart, The protagonist, with the help of magical animals, can make her laugh, which grants him the right to marry the princess. In the 19th century, depression had not yet been studied as a medical condition, and there was no language for diagnosis as we know it today. States of melancholy and loss of interest in life were instead described as spleen or handra. It was a privilege to suffer without working and to lose interest in life without starving. Among the wealthy and the noble, emotional withdrawal became a fashionable aesthetic, transforming sadness into a class marker and further separating suffering from compassion. Melancholy was a luxury at that time, making endurance the only option for everyone else. This historical phenomenon has contributed to the current attitude surrounding the diagnosis. Now it is time to pick up what is left of our mental health. As you can see, dandelions, Russian folklore suggests that feeling deeply comes with a price. Since you know about the meaning behind love, beauty, and depression in Russian folklore, what do you think they have in common? I'm not encouraging you to embrace misery and compete for the title I suffered the most, which will do you no good, but being emotionally present in life inevitably involves pain. Dandelions, are you willing to take this risk